Hello, I'm Robin Gibson, and this is the Harvard House Money Morsel. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us again. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the bell so you get a notification of when we're releasing a new video. I'm sitting today with Willie Pelser. Hello, Willie.
Morning, Robin.
So, Willie, we've had a couple of great events over the last couple of weeks from an economics point of view. Obviously, we have explored the mini budget to some extent, but we had a release of GDP this week, and I think that's where you economists really, you get out your spade and your brushes and you dig right down. It's a bit like an archaeology, isn't it? Yeah, you go right down to the nuts and bolts. So
Exactly right. You must add that we also had a great season with the Springboks.
yeah, I see we've had a red card and 12 games for Mr. Etzebeth, but yeah.
Back to the GDP.
Yes.
Yeah, Robin, I think to put it into context, last year when we did our year-end presentations, we spoke about the South Africa has a potential to grow at 2% or 3%. We sort of looked at deep research from Stellenbosch University or the economic unit there and so on and so on. So what we've actually seen in this GDP that came out is if we look at the 9 months, because this was quarter three's number. So if we take the whole 3 quarters together relative to the prior year, we close to 1.2%. Sure. Okay. So that in itself tells us that the 2% or the 3% is possible. So if we delve into that, Robin, what was quite nice, and I think it was what the market has been waiting for a long time, is the momentum to continue, because this is now the 4th positive quarter in a row. So that's helpful.
Can I just interrupt you there, just to remind the viewers that for almost a decade, we haven't been able to beat 1%. So that's, it's significant.
Yeah, Robin, we've actually struggled to get off the zero line.
Yes.
If you put it that way. So yeah, this is, relatively speaking, it's actually huge. If we take that, we've never been above 1 for a long time. So what has contributed a lot, Robin, is the agricultural sector, and we've written about it, we've mentioned it before and so on. It's a small sector in the economy, but when it changes, it adds a lot to the GDP in itself. So, and that's from crops, that's our citrus exports, etc. So there's a huge positive from the agri sector. And then our mining industry, obviously there's a positive from that. We're mining the stuff where the prices are substantially higher, so platinum, gold, and so on. And then, Robin, there's always a focus to look at the two critical elements of the GDP. The one is 60% is made up of the consumer cycle. I'll get back to that. And obviously what we're hoping for is to rebuild the economy, to fill the potholes, build the new bridges. That's the basic sort of language, but understandably we want fixed capital formation, we want investment into. So that's picking up. And it's the private sector is lagging a little bit, but I think we had some good indications through signs that Transnet is moving. They're physically moving volume. That's happening. Eskom, we don't have to talk about that. There's consistency in power. Alternatives has come in, all of those type of things. But I think the corporate sector is now at a phase where this will start happening. We're seeing some business confidence also now much higher than where it was before. The credit upgrade we had, I think there's momentum now for this to happen. So if we go to the consumer cycle in the GDP, there's a breakdown of how consumers spend. And the interesting one for me was actually there's a section called durable, the durable segment, then there's semi-durable and sort of services. The durable sector that's your new fridge, your new fridge, car sales, so it's your higher ticket items. And there's definitely been a momentum building up that people are obviously replacing new. The fridge has been broken for a long time. I just didn't have the cash. I'm not going to the debate of the betting and that type of thing. But there is cash in the system, because I always say if you don't have confidence, you're not going to buy a new car. If you don't have confidence, you're not going to buy that new fridge, because fridges doesn't come cheap anymore. Yeah. So we're using a simple example here. So that's been positive. And in the consumer sector as well, for a long time it was shoes, clothing, and that type of thing, but we're moving up into the bracket of home maintenance, all of those type of things, and that's a bit too confident. So overall, the GDP number, Roman, I think echoes what's been put forward in the mini budget. in the sense we are going to make a difference in South Africa from let's just think about money, let's just think about the debt we have, and where we're spending. And the consumer has been doing that for a long time. You had to turn that sense really literally around. You had to avoid using your credit card, all of those type of things. So GDP, yes, I think we can look at the year. For our team, I said I'm putting a 1.2%, even a 1.3% for the year. So when we look at 2025, so that's definitely a positive for the economy going forward. And then there's add-ons. We've spoken about the interest rate cycle that's on a downward momentum, and that will add to the confidence. If you know that your home loan, your credit, and all of those will be cheaper, next year, it might just entice you to spend a bit more.
So, Willie, let's just come back to that interest rate, because I don't know that our investors really focus on and keep the numbers that we projected in that. So if I remember, we kind of said maybe 2025 would be 1.5%. We could go 2026 at over 2% and moving to 2027 to well north of 3%. So there might be some element to go, well, a little bit disappointing. But can we link it back to the fact that the inflation targeting, if we weren't targeting this 3% inflation, which we've argued is a really, really good thing for us in the long term, then interest rates would probably have been lower earlier. So we're giving something up in GDP now for a longer term big benefit, aren't we?
Yeah, no, definitely, Robin. I think there's a lot of stuff in the pipeline. If you look at like building plans passed and that type of thing, there's stuff in the pipeline that's waiting for the execution. And it says, yes, I've got the plans, but now I need the brick and mortar and, to continue. And corporate's been sitting. So with this effect now, yes, we're moving into that cycle. They might just, if we might come back in January, everybody's back in the office and say, press a button. So who knows, 26 might be the year that we breach this 2% that we've been waiting for a long time.
And then really bringing it back to an investor from a Harvard House investor perspective, we have seen the Rand breach the 17 mark. It's now down under 17. But the foreign investor hasn't really come in yet, and he could come in a big way, could he?
Yeah, Robin, I think exactly, because remember the foreigners use those, what's the credit rating, where's our debt levels, that's their main decision-making around investing in South Africa, and obviously a state of politics and all of those things. So, but if we look at the credit rating cycle, there's definitely a cycle that we will be lift notches, back to the investment grade. And then, there's metrics that they work. So even a small notch like we've seen now, and we're waiting, I think, today for Moody's adjustment, which will obviously be an up as well. We're not at the investment grade, but all those notches for those who do foreigners who come in, they use that to up a weight in towards South Africa. It might be 0.5%, but that money, translated into physical money is a lot of money. So, I think that cycle is also 6 months from now, we will look back at investors from offshore and say, where did that money come from? So, but they're waiting for all those triggers to happen, and I think the stars align the same like that, and more of them are aligning it.
Are coming into that now. Awesome. Well, it's great to have good news. It's been a long haul for investors in South Africa, but we have been positive about the trajectory. And Willie, thanks for giving us some insight in that. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.
All right.